To the Break Room Classic Film fans, it's tea time for a coffee break. Welcome back to the coffee house. Hope you have whatever it is that you're drinking. I have my coffee, so let's gather around the coffee table as we get into this week's Fashion Friday.
Can you get Cab Calloway on it?
Can you get it?
Catch my panty waist sugar. I'm sorry,
Gambling is going on in here.
By the way, how is your father?
But I want to know, does it bother you?
Last week, I asked you guys to vote on either my Flapper collection, which is the one I was going to follow up Topper with, but I had to fit an Irene Dunn from last week somewhere. I had to fit her in. Or my Betty Boop dress, my Sid Charisse dress, or just a random piece that I have created inspired by the golden age of Hollywood in general, not just a specific actor or film, or just a random piece that I've created just out of my own imagination. The voice was loud and clear. This one won by a pretty far margin, which is the piece that I have behind me today. So I'm going to reveal which one it is. And before I do that, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Come on in, take a seat, and we are going to reveal what this week's piece is going to be.
She was bad. She was dangerous. I wouldn't trust her any farther than I could throw her.
Okay, so this is actually a cape that I have worn. I've used in a show before where I did a reveal of the outfit underneath. So you might not be able to see it. Of course, I always have photos provided for you guys so you can see the full piece front, back, and side. But this is my Sid Charisse dress. I'm gonna put my coffee down. My lipstick print is always on it. I'm gonna put my coffee down for 1 second. We're gonna go through, oh my gosh, I went right to the page, and I thought it was gonna take me forever to get to the page, and I opened it right up, and there we are. So here is the sketch that I have for this dress, if I can. Okay, so there is the dress, and there is the garment. Okay, Sid Charisse is one of my all-time favorite dancers, period. I'm not talking about like a duo. I mean, the Nicholas brothers, those are fighting words if you don't consider them like the greatest dancers of all time. But as a solo dancer, Sid Charisse and Eleanor Powell, for me, I love Rita Hayworth. There are other dancers that inspire me, that I love to watch, but for me personally, Sid Charisse and Eleanor Powell have always been goals. Like they've always been goals. I've been in love with Sid Charisse dancing since before I can remember. She's almost like a Carmen Miranda memory for me. Growing up, watching Singing in the Rain and just seeing the green dress, just seeing that, and then branching off into her other films, and because she has such a small piece in Singing in the Rain. It overtakes everything. As wonderful as Singing in the Rain is, that moment with Sid in that film is spectacular. So I had to grab onto everything I could find on Sid Charisse as I grew up and fell in love with her style, her technique, her lines. Though, I mean, she's inspiring to watch. So when I saw the Bandwagon, there's a number where she has on the yellow dress. The garments from the Bandwagon were done by Mary Ann Nyberg, which she really has a very short, and though it kind of packs a punch, a very short costume designing credit list. She did Lily, 1953, with Leslie Caron. She did the Bandwagon. She's also credited participating one of the costume designers on A Star is Born. The Bandwagon that she was nominated for an Oscar for, as well as a costume designer on A Star is Born, but also Carmen Jones with Dorothy Dandridge. So I don't know, for me that really packs a punch. She's also credited as supervisor on The Man with the Golden Arm with Frank Sinatra and Kim Novak and Eleanor Parker. But it's a very small list of credits that she has. I mean, the bandwagon alone is enough, but also to be participating with A Star is Born, Carmen Jones. I mean, those to me, when it comes to style and when it comes to costuming, that really packs a punch. So I loved the red pom-pom that Cyd Charisse has on her arm, and I loved the garment that she wears at the end of the bandwagon when Fred Astaire is coming out of his dressing room, and it's a deep olive green dress. I named the piece Caro. I told you guys every piece that I have has a name. I named the piece Caro. I thought just Cyd or Charisse or Wagon, I thought anything else would be too spot on. But the piece was also heavily influenced on silk stockings, which I usually do side by sides of them both. The Dancer in the Silk Stockings, which was a remake to Ninotchka with Greta Garbo and Melvyn Douglas, with Fred Astaire and Cyd Charisse taking on the prior two roles on screen. And there's a dance scene in the beginning with Jules Munchin and Peter Lorre with Fred Astaire when they have the dancers that are dressed, they're getting ready to go into their dance. And when I saw the red dress, it was like a flood. I wanted to use all three of those as an inspiration for this piece. This piece was actually created for myself. I'm the one who wore this piece for a show that I did. I've worn it twice, and actually the second show, just to show you how full circle it came around with this piece, the second time that I wore this piece was for a show that I talked to you guys a bit last week with the Black Women of the Arts, where it was highlighting from the 20s to the 50s, prolific Black women of the Hollywood or entertainment field. And I choreographed a number for I've Got Rhythm with Dorothy Dandridge, her adaptation of I've Got Rhythm. And we did a choreographed musical number to spotlight and highlight Dorothy Dandridge. And then when you think, okay, Marianne, she did do the costuming on Carmen Jones, which was Dorothy Dandridge, which is also like a moment in history, right? This is Dorothy she is now nominated for Best Leading Actress in the Academy Award, which Hattie McDaniel being the first Black nominated, winning the first winning supporting actress in a film, and here we are in 1954 being brought up to the stage with a nomination for Dorothy Dandridge for Carmen Jones, which, the Oscar did go to Grace Kelly for that, but she was nominated. That always adds a little sparkle to my shine. I just thought I would give you a little backstory to the garment and what inspired me to create it, where it was used. I told you guys in the back, I always have my list of what it is that it's going to take to create the piece. Because this book goes with me everywhere I go. Whatever book that I'm working from, I have several. So whatever book I'm working from, it's like my Bible for the time being. I bring it with me everywhere. So that's this week's Fashion Friday. Let me know what your favorite Cyd Charisse garment is, or your favorite Cyd Charisse number is. For me, I've always credited Cyd and Ricardo Montalban being my personal Fred and Ginger. It's always like a joy to me when someone doesn't know Ricardo Montalban. Not only was he an actor in his younger age, I think most people just think of him in his later years, that when they see him younger, like working on a film, it's like they're like mind blown. I'm always like beaming a little bit prouder to let people know, yeah, he was not only an actor, but he was a dancer, and a darn good dancer. And I love showing clips of him and Cyd Charisse dancing together. And I think my favorite favorite collaboration of them on film is On an Island with You. It's an Esther Williams film, but Cyd Charisse and Ricardo Montalban, there's a sailor scene, where Cyd, she comes out with and I'm sure if you are a classic film fan, you already know the setup. I don't even have to say anything more to you, where he's standing at the bar, it's on the stage, and he's standing at the bar, and Cyd comes up, and they take it from there. I was so moved by that performance when I first saw it. I was just awestruck, and I knew I had to use, when they hop up onto the bar counter, and Sid and Ricardo Montalban go into their lifts. The lines of the lifts, the fluidity of it, was very inspiring to me, and I knew I had to recreate that in some form or fashion. So I was able to needle that into one of the shows that I did. And I remember for that rehearsal, I let them see that clip first, and their eyes popped like, okay, so you want us to do that? Okay, okay. They were like trying to get it in their minds. Okay, we've got this. So I showed them the clip of that first, and then we went into rehearsing on that. So not only clothes play a part in inspiring me in my professional life and my personal life, but also the choreography, the dance numbers, just cinema in general just inspires every aspect about my professional life and personal life. It's just, one doesn't go without the other. I think I wear both garments at the same time, professionally and personally. And I also have a thread on social media because I noticed there were no GIFs of, we've discussed that before. I say GIFs. There were very limited amount of GIFs with Ricardo Montalban when he was younger, and dancing even. It was mostly just, Fantasy Island on down. And I was like, okay, I need to correct that. So I made a thread of Ricardo Montalban GIFs, and they're also on my Jiffy channel. But you really have to scroll down to the bottom, I think, because those were some of the first ones I uploaded. As a matter of fact, outside of Marlon Brando, Ricardo Montalban was the only reason I finally created a channel, a Jiffy channel, because I had so many. And I was like, I have to share these out loud because they're so limited. I'll have a link to my channels below. That's this portion of Fashion Friday. I'm going to show you guys very quickly before I leave you guys this week. I'm going to show you my scrapbook because I told you last week with Greta Garbo I was going to show you my scrapbook, so give me 1 second. Okay, so this will probably, because it's so thick and it's like kind of been handled to a degree. I'm gonna have to be very careful here, but this is this is my scrapbook. Yeah, when I say scrapbook, I go all the way. You ought to see the ones that I have from even high school, even journaling when I would journal in school, even on through. I never really stopped journaling. They pretty much look like this. I'm very crafty with paper. Like I go the extra mile. So this is the front, and here is the Greta Garbo picture that I was telling you guys was in a magazine, a fashion ad, and I saw it and I cut it out and I used it, of course, Humphrey Bogart. This is from, if you can see it, a puzzle. I told you guys some weeks ago that my mom and I did over 200, and the reason I only say over 200 only, because I think that's when we stopped counting. It was like that whatever we do after then, it's like it's just another one, it's just a bonus. This was actually the first puzzle that we ever did, and I actually have it displayed. It's an art piece on the wall, and then the back I have the Wizard of Oz, this was another puzzle that we had did. This particular scrapbook is my TCM. Oh my gosh. This is the book that we were actually, the TCM book that we were actually featured in. I don't know if you can, there I am. But I don't know if you can, across from Jean Harlow. Like, oh my gosh. I remember getting this book screaming because it was like, never mind this. Jean Harlow, we're across from Jean Harlow. So anyhow, this was the Now Playing guidebook that we were in. So I have that in my scrapbook as well. I'm probably gonna have to show you this, you guys, this flat, because I'm sure you can't see it all. But it's filled with photos and things that I brought back with me, envelopes, and then I also have like things written down, an account of everything that happened. This is my scrapbook. If you guys can see it. Bags, even shampoo and soap and everything. Yeah, because things are falling out. The picture, this is the first picture I took with Robert Osborne, and I have no idea what that is that fell out. I'm gonna have to find it. The balloons from from that night. Love affair, you guys know my love affair. We had to make a list of films that we would possibly like to discuss. So I had to put those films in the book. More pictures. This is a piece of fabric from the dress that I wore, but these are also other photos that were taken. Itinerary, more photos, and this is Bird from Judge Judy. And Robert Osborne. So that was like a funny story because my mom used to watch Judge Judy religiously, like every day. And I remember seeing him that first day, and I called, the house because, they were like, call as soon as you get there. So I called, and I was like, you guys, telling my folks, you guys, there's someone here. And I can't figure out who he is, but I know him. And I can't figure out who he is. And I would kept staring, and I'm like, it's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. I was walking past the wardrobe, the hair and makeup part of the studio. I was walking past there by myself, and heard, kind of glanced over and saw he was in the chair, something, and Judge Judy, and something. And I remember stopping, like right out of a movie, like how you stop and then you see the person walk back and they stick their head in. And I said, I'm sorry, can you say what you just said again? He said something, and I was like, no, say something, you said something else. And then he was like, whatever he said, Judge Judy. And I was like, that's where I know you from. And I screamed. I was like, that's where I know you from. So he was able to talk to my mom because my mom called, and I was like, would you mind talking to her? So he's very nice, very nice. And then he introduced a film that I would also recommend for you guys to watch. A Man Called Adam with Sammy Davis Jr. So if you've not seen that, that's my film recommendation for this week. And this was fun, because we had a screening party. We had made some witness for the prosecution game boards. So when everyone turned theirs in, kept them in here for everyone's answers. So we had a fun board game with that. I already see what fell on the ground. It was an account, another story of part of my trip, something I shared. Thought I could bring you guys my scrapbook this week, as well as the piece highlighted. So the second piece that was mentioned to showcase was my flapper collection. So more likely than not, I will bring you guys the flapper collection next week. And thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the Coffee House, if you have a good time, please subscribe, hit like, and share the Coffee House out loud with your friends, family, on your social media platforms. And I will see you guys here next week with your coffee or whatever it is that you drink. I will see you guys back here next week. And to my script reading group, I will hope to see you guys again next week as well. So whichever side you're on, be safe, be well, stay healthy, stay home, and I'll see you next week. A bientôt.
She came at me in sections, more curves than a scenic railway. She was selling hard, but I wasn't buying.